This is Land of Havilah, 2 Chronicles 13. It'll be the reign of Abijah from start to finish, including his epic battle against Israel at Mount Zemaraim. 1 Kings only made passing reference to it. Verse 1. In the 18th year of King Jeroboam, Abijah began to reign over Judah. He reigned 3 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Micaiah, the daughter of Uriel of Gibeah. Comment in verse 1, they kept time in those days by which kings were on the thrones of Judah and Israel. In this case, Abijah took the throne in the 18th year of Jeroboam, king of Israel. It's less confusing if we remember that whenever a new king takes the throne, the opposite kingdom gets inserted into the sentence. Abijah became king of Judah, not of Israel, as we're liable to hear it. Abijah, fourth in the Davidic line, was born 2 chapters ago as the son of Rehoboam and Maacah. There it was said Maacah was daughter of Absalom, which would make her granddaughter of David. But verse 2 we just read confuses us at first because it calls her Micaiah, daughter of Uriel of Gibeah. It might be a corruption of the text, but not necessarily. Micaiah could be an alternative spelling of Maacah, and daughter of Uriel could also be translated granddaughter of Uriel, which, if that was true, it would resolve everything. In verse 2, Abijah only reigned 3 years, but coming up, there was an epic event during his time. The last chapter mentioned there was continual war between Rehoboam, his father, and Jeroboam, but now it'll be full-out definitive war, still in verse 2. There was war between Abijah and Jeroboam. Abijah joined battle with an army of valiant men of war, even 400,000 chosen men, and Jeroboam set the battle in array against him with 800,000 chosen men, who are mighty men of valor. Comment, it's a massive 400,000 from the south versus 800,000 from the north. In verse 3, the army set the battle in array, meaning they formed battle lines facing each other. But before any fighting, Abijah will stand on Mount Zemaraim and address the opposing forces of Israel. We might assume just their leading men because he can't very well address the entire 800,000. He'll explain to them why he's come out to challenge them. We could call it trash talk because his view of history is a little slanted, but he will be a voice piece for Yahweh as far as Israel's idolatry is concerned. Verse 4. Abijah stood up on Mount Zemaraim, which is in the hill country of Ephraim, and said, Hear me, Jeroboam, and all Israel. Ought you not to know that Yahweh, the God of Israel, gave the kingdom over Israel to David forever, even to him and to his sons by a covenant of salt? Yet Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, the servant of Solomon, the son of David, rose up and rebelled against his Lord. Worthless men were gathered to him, wicked fellows who strengthened themselves against Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, when Rehoboam was young and tender-hearted and could not withstand them. Now you intend to withstand the kingdom of Yahweh in the hand of the sons of David. You're a great multitude, and the golden calves which Jeroboam made you for gods are with you. Haven't you driven out the priests of Yahweh, the sons of Aaron, and the Levites, and made priests for yourselves according to the ways of the peoples of other lands? Whoever comes to consecrate himself with a young bull and 7 rams may be a priest of those who are no gods. But as for us, Yahweh is our God, and we've not forsaken him. We have priests serving Yahweh, the sons of Aaron, and the Levites in their work. And they burn to Yahweh every morning and every evening burnt offerings and sweet incense. They also set the showbread in order on the pure table, and the lampstand of gold with its lamps to burn every evening. For we keep the instruction of Yahweh our God, but you've forsaken him. Behold, God is with us at our head, and his priests with the trumpets of alarm to sound an alarm against you. Children of Israel, don't fight against Yahweh, the God of your fathers, for you will not prosper. Comment, that was a mixture of propaganda and truth. The part about God giving Israel to the house of David forever was propaganda because there was a big if in the way Yahweh stated it. As he put it to Solomon, I'll secure the kingdom for your posterity if you walk in integrity of heart and in uprightness to do according to all I've commanded you, and will keep my statutes and ordinances. 1 Kings 9:4. Of course, Solomon didn't do that. Either Abijah never learned about his grandfather being the root of the division, or he's lying about it, but he couldn't be more accurate about the current-day idolatry in Israel. Will Yahweh be with him as he says? On the one hand, we can't imagine Yahweh would support a twisted view of history, yet on the other, Abijah is expressing faith. Yahweh definitely approves his condemnation of idolatry, but will he see it as hypocrisy? So what happened? Verse 13. But Jeroboam caused an ambush to come out behind them, so that they were before Judah, and the ambush was behind them. When Judah looked back, behold, the battle was before and behind them. Comment, in other words, the 800,000 Israelites have surrounded the 400,000 Judites. Speaking of Judah, still in verse 14. And they cried to Yahweh, and the priests sounded with the trumpets. Then the men of Judah gave a shout. Comment, that was reminiscent of Israel blowing the trumpets at Jericho and the walls falling down. Judah is using the trumpets to signal the start of battle, but it's also understood as a call to Yahweh to help. In the law of Moses, Yahweh said, quote, when you go to war in the land against the adversary who opposes you, then you shall sound an alarm with trumpets, end quote. So it's the law of Moses and mandatory to sound the trumpet at the start of a battle. The promise attached to it is, quote, then you will be remembered before Yahweh your God, and you will be saved from your enemies, end quote. This will hopefully stir faith in Judah hearing the trumpets because of the promise attached to it. So they blew the trumpets, and still in verse 15, as the men of Judah shouted, God struck Jeroboam and all Israel before Abijah and Judah. Comment, so that's how it turned out. God struck Jeroboam and all Israel. Verse 16, the children of Israel fled before Judah, and God delivered them into their hand. Abijah and his people killed them with a great slaughter, so 500,000 chosen men of Israel fell down slain. Comment, 500,000 of Israel's 800,000 are dead, which would be a crippling blow for at least a generation. Verse 18, thus the children of Israel were brought under at that time, and the children of Judah prevailed because they relied on Yahweh, the God of their fathers. Abijah pursued Jeroboam and took cities from him, Bethel with its villages, Jeshanah with its villages, and Ephron with its villages. Comment, those cities were in the far south of Israel bordering on Judah. Bethel was the place of one of Jeroboam's altars and golden calves. Verse 20, Jeroboam didn't recover strength again in the days of Abijah. Yahweh struck him, and he died. But Abijah grew mighty and took for himself 14 wives and became the father of 22 sons and 16 daughters. The rest of the acts of Abijah, his ways and his sayings, are written in the commentary of the prophet Iddo. So Abijah slept with his fathers, and they buried him in David's city. Comment, that was the end of the chapter plus the first verse of the next chapter. Jeroboam survived the battle of Mount Zemaraim, but we know he didn't reverse course on his new religion. Israel stuck with him and ratified his idolatry when they ignored Abijah's appeal to them. Israel was under no compulsion to listen to Abijah by making him their king, but they should have listened to him about the idolatry. But some Israelites rejected the idolatry already and migrated to Judah beforehand, as mentioned 2 chapters ago. In verse 20, Yahweh struck Jeroboam and he died. This was after reigning 22 years in Israel, 1 Kings 14:20. The cap on Abijah's life is in 1 Kings 15:3, quote, he walked in all the sins of his father, and his heart was not perfect with Yahweh his God, end quote. So Abijah was right to oppose Israel's idolatry, but he had problems of his own. 2 Chronicles 14 is next.